all. My name is Wana. I'm working for UN-Habitat Ethiopia, and I'm very pleased to see in the room a lot of partners, organizations, and government staff that work together for ensuring appropriate and adequate urbanization process. Today, we will spend half day together. First part, we will have introductions by Her Excellency Engineer Aisha Mohammed Musa, as well as by Dr. Per Sevastik, that is Deputy Head of Bilateral Section at the Embassy of Sweden. From the National Planning Commission, Dr. Nemera will also join us today, as well as our Country Director of UN-Habitat, Aklilo Fikre-Selassie. After the coffee break, we will talk about the urban development challenges post-COVID, because it's something that we are very keen to catch up with. We need to recover and we need to become more resilient. And later on, we will present the progress on the new urban agenda in SDG 11, as well as inviting you partners to present your reflections and your introductions, how best we can work together to ensure a proper urban development in Ethiopia. Having said that, thank you again for being here, and I would kindly request Her Excellency Engineer Aisha Mohammed Musa, Minister at Urban Development and Construction, to join us for with an opening speech.
Your Excellencies, Honorable Development Partners, representatives, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First and foremost, I would like to thank all the participants for coming to the National Urban Agenda Partners Platform. I would also like to specifically thank representatives of the institutions, NGOs, stakeholders, and experts. Without your active engagement, there wouldn't have been any urban agenda or any partnership. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to heads of agencies, UN agencies, partners, and finance organizations who are engaged in supporting development of cities and other settlements. We appreciate that UN-Habitat for hosting this crucial and long overdue platform for the second time in a row, especially in a timely state despite restrictions and bans put in place to prevent the spread of COVID-19. The action of the urban agendas was not suspended. People in cities need the government to continue representing and ensuring decent quality of life. During the International Urban October month, the most deserving urban issues are given due attention all months along, and we thank the UN-Habitat for engaging the urban community in topics such as green urban environment, waste management, cities and jobs, and urban response and recovery from COVID-19 imposed crisis. As you all remember, the National Urban Agenda was officially launched last year to bring various actors and stakeholders working on urban issues or having urban agenda in their own curriculum together and under one roof to discuss share their thoughts on urban issues, bring them closer, partner up, communicate, and connect with one another as various actors and stakeholders operate in a different part of the country under various and important specialization set of skills. One undeniable truth is that most, if not all, urban issues are interconnected and cannot be tackled under silos of projects. Hence, the need for a national urban agenda partners platform is of a paramount importance. The National Urban Agenda Partners Platform also helps to discuss, vet, narrow and down and pinpoint a united urban agenda that will derive the inevitable and rapidly manifesting urbanization in the country. The main role of the participants in the NUP are doing timely and frequent engagements, synergetic and sustainable partnership, identifying strong and weak points of urban issues. The agendas to discuss are how to address them and also catalyzing a common language, in particular between humanitarian and development organizations, working in different sectors, yet in the same geographical location, noting that all human settlements are subject to population growth and possible urbanization process. Ladies and gentlemen, the characteristics of urban realm in Ethiopia is quite unique and clearly in a rapid rate of urban population growth. Out of the factors contributing to the urban population growth, rural to urban migration, seeking for better socio-economic opportunities, and natural growth in combination contribute the most, nearly 72%. As a result of the rapid urban population growth, new city administrations are being flourished every year with the impact on the capacity of urban governance, job creation, and service delivery of the urban structures. To this end, the figures and facts on the ground clearly show and speculate that a united front and partnership is needed to catch up to and get ahead of urbanization. Recently, COVID has especially been rampant in urban settings. The case is very serious in Addis Ababa. The same has apparently impacted the agenda set by different institutions to undertake. As we progress into summer season, where COVID restrictions were easing up and the possibility of spread declines, we are hoping to see actions to resume. The previous agendas are taken aggressively and strengthened to take into account the further impacts of COVID-19. As the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction, regional sector bureaus and city administrations are mandated by the government of Ethiopia to support sustainable, inclusive, and prosperous cities across Ethiopia. We welcome the broad range of development partners delivering supports in urban areas to coordinate the efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, the 10 years perspective plan of the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction has prepared, taking into consideration both national, regional, and international urban agenda matters, and it is officially endorsed for implementation. However, especially when it comes to urban long-term plans, no plan is foolproof, and polarity of unexpected elements might manifest. In case in point, unexpected elements might manifest. Case in point, being a pandemic that has brought cities and the world to halt. In that regard, to move forward steps and measures are needed to assess where we stand, make our plans, and make our agendas COVID-19 responsive, and how to move forward strong. Therefore, appreciating the supports rendered so far as an urban agenda partner, we are still seeking for much more supports and cooperation to address the associated lurking challenges being faced by the sectors. Having said this, hoping your warm participation, I would like to declare the official opening of this conference session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And we are very happy to be here and support a government that represents such a big number of people. And we are very happy that the government has a plan, so we can also have a plan for the support. To this regard, I would kindly request Dr. Perse Vastik, Deputy Head Bilateral Section at the Embassy of Sweden.
Your Excellency Asha Mohammed Musa, Your Excellencies, distinguished partners, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I'm very happy to be here at this important event for us that have been engaged in this platform since it was launched 2019, established by the Ministry for Urban Development and Construction in collaboration with UN-Habitat. This is an important event. It's not only an important event for us, it's an important event for everyone, because this cooperation is important because the aim is to improve the state of Ethiopia cities and thereby the urban livelihood by supporting the government of Ethiopia in implementing the urban component of the National Development Plan in alignment with Agenda 2030, Goal 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities, and the new urban agenda as part of the UN-Habitat Country Program for Ethiopia 2016-2020. The project strategically engages the Swedish development partners to share on their international experiences and skills. And what we can see so far is that city leadership skills are reinforced, improved urban planning capacity, enhanced urban resilience planning capacity, enhanced coordination among urban agenda implementing partners. Also, the Shiger Resilience Project runs to 2021, jointly implemented with the UNDP, is important for us as well, because the objective is to support the Shiger beautification project through human and institutional capacity building through an integrated urban planning and management approach. The following results are expected: enhanced project management unity, promote integrated watershed management and development of green public spaces, and human rights-based resettlement and livelihood programs promoted, implying a voluntary resettlement in an open, transparent, and participatory way. The program that we support, the platform that we support, is important for us because they find a natural platform in our own strategy. And we have a development strategy that runs 2016 to 2020. The said programs that we support fall in under the strategy goal area 1, and we have 3 main strategy goals. Strategy goals reads a better environment, limited climate impact, and greater resilience to environment impact, climate change, and natural disasters. And there are strong synergies with the 2 remaining goals, where goal number 2 is strengthen democracy and gender equality and greater respect for human rights. And the last goal is better opportunities and tools to enable poor people to improve their living conditions. Sweden has been involved in Ethiopia for more than 40 years. We have a close cooperation with Addis Ababa University in higher education. We will celebrate a 40-year anniversary in May, hopefully, depending on the COVID situation in the country. And we have an even longer cooperation with the Armaur Hansen Research Institute. 50-year also celebrated in May. Having said this, implies that our strategy is coming to an end and that we are focusing on a new strategy process. That strategy process has begun, and I hope that we, in due time, 2021, 2022, will have a new strategy with components that are beneficial for Ethiopia, so that we can continue our good cooperation for many, many more years. This is our ambition, and I'm so glad to be able to be here today and say these words to you. I should also say, in the end, that my dear colleague, Annika Jajavardena Nordin, has been sort of a burning soul in trying to create this platform. She's not here today, she's in Sweden, so I took her place. I'm sure Annika could go on for very, very long in giving details on what we're doing, but the discussion continues now. So I want to thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much.
We give thanks, Dr. Sevasti. And we appreciate SIDA's support as well as other partners in improving the urban environment and responding to the challenges like urbanization, like health, public health that we are currently facing. In continuation, we have Dr. Nemera from the National Planning Commission with us.
So thank you very much for the opportunity to reflect on the Ethiopia's 10 years perspective development plan and its plan for the urbanization. So at the moment we're working on the 10 years long-term development plan where we identified several key pillars in which urban is one of the key pillar area in our development planning exercise. The way we see urbanization in our planning context is in two perspectives. The first one is urban as an economic environment. What we mean by that is Ethiopia has always planned bring structural transformation to the economy, where the value addition, the job creation, the income growth should be, structurally transformed into urban-based economies from what now largely rural, based economy dominance. And this is the key rationale why we see, the urban or city as an economic environment, because in terms of the structural transformation plan, urbans, capture the biggest value addition in terms of the economic activities, largely in the areas of secondary economic activities such as value creating manufacturing sectors. And also in terms of the job opportunities, it provides one of the biggest, job opportunities as a space, as an economic environment. And the other is also the aspect of seeing city as new sources of economic growth, especially not only for the manufacturing sectors, the service sector perspective of it, but the quaternary services such as creative industries, largely in the technology sectors are predominantly located in urban areas. So our planning sees it from that perspective, city as an economic environment in terms of the value creating capacity that it has for the manufacturing sector and the service sector, and also the job providing opportunities for the citizens. And the other perspective is seeing it as a new sources of growth, especially for the creative, the ICT sectors. The other dimension, how our plan, treats city or urban is as a social environment, as a space. It needs to also be conducive for the citizens. What we mean by that is you can look it from public goods, provisions such as providing good housing, providing good electricity, good clean water, other perspectives of sanitation. These are the pillars that we identified that in the next 10 years Ethiopian growth strategy, development strategy should also see urban as a social environment, in a sense that the citizens would get a quality, economic services in terms of the public goods that I've mentioned earlier. And also, it has to be a very good, the amenities in terms of the environmental cleanliness that, it brings. So it needs to be a very clean space. It needs to attract one of the other source of growth also that we centered around urbanization is urban-based tourism sectors. For that, the space needs to be clean, environmental friendly, and so these are the way our planning process have tried to look into urban as a both economic environment and the social aspect. So when it comes to identifying the pillars, so of course one of the biggest pillars that we wanted to make sure is that in order to ensure sustainable structural transformation in the urban areas, we need to ensure sustainable quality growth. Sustainable quality growth in a sense, all our economic activities that are based in urban areas, they need to be very productive, they need to be very competitive, both domestically and globally. It is through that we can benefit the welfare and the living standards of the citizens in city. But of course, that also comes with understanding the current challenges that we face. At the moment, our large urban economy is only concentrated in Addis Ababa, which really created a disequilibrium in terms of urban concentrations. So what we're trying to do in our planning process is we developed a regional development program through which we need to create a balanced urban growth strategy. The kind of concentration, the economic concentration that we see today in Addis Ababa is not sustainable. We need to also further in terms of our development strategies, development policies, and the incentive structure. The secondary cities, major regional cities need also catch up with the pace of growth that Addis Ababa is experiencing. So these are, the areas in which our 10 years perspective development plan is trying to emphasize in order to ensure a sustainable structural transformation through which we move from traditional based economies, which are predominantly based in rural areas, to more modern, productive, competitive economies such as value-adding sectors, the service sectors, and the quaternary sectors that I've mentioned earlier in the digital, technology sectors, so that we bring fast-paced and also sustainable structural transformation where our urban center really provides good economic gains as well as social services to the citizens that dwells in urban areas, while we are also, as I said earlier, trying to balance the primary city growth and the secondary city growth, that we need to really use a proper regional development framework through which we can link our growth strategies with the secondary or regional cities across the space in the country. So yeah, these are the main aspects how we've framed urbanization in our planning process. And this is pretty much what I can say at the moment. And I would like to thank you for the opportunity on behalf of Planning and Development Commission. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nemera.
Your Excellency, Engineer Aisha, Ministry of Urban Development and Construction, Excellencies, State Ministers, high-level government officials, heads of agencies and representatives, all protocols observed. I would like to thank you all for coming to this excellent and very special session of the Urban Agenda Partners Platform on behalf of UN-Habitat Ethiopia. I would like to thank especially the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction for really organizing this kind of platform and closely following up the processes. And the government of Sweden, SIDA, for not only financing this initiative, but also initiating the idea, actually supporting the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction and that of UN-Habitat. I would like also to thank the Urban Agenda partners who are here, who really trusted and agreed to take part in this kind of event and participated in the session. My just updates on this Urban Agenda Partners platform is not that much. I would like to just explain why do we need this platform and what are the activities, because some of the partners who are present here were not part of the first session in one way or another. So I would like just to say few things about the importance of this platform. So, and why UN-Habitat is playing this secretariat role. For information, the platform, this Urban Agenda Partners platform, is chaired by the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction and co-chaired by the World Bank, because World Bank is also putting lots of finance supporting the urban agenda, and the secretariat of this platform is UN-Habitat. Why UN-Habitat to play this role of secretariat, facilitating this coordination? Because UN-Habitat is the lead of urban agenda in the UN system, and leading the agenda, urban agenda, meaning so UN-Habitat is mandated to coordinate this process. In addition, UN-Habitat is one of the agencies in the UN system known for its really wonderful job in putting all urban agenda partners in the World Urban Forum. I am sure that most of the partners here have been part of the urban platform, the global urban platform, where all the donors, urban implementing partners are gathered. And again, when it comes to the national level, what we call National Cities Day or Ethiopia's Urban Forum, UN-Habitat plays a key role there as well. So why do we need this platform as well? So the justifications for having this platform is, as mentioned by the keynote speakers, urbanization is really going fast in Ethiopia and requires not just operations in silos, but kind of coordinated and well-coordinated operation. So lack of coordination is there, while urbanization is really cruising. And the resources, mobilization process is also really very low. All the partners also functioning in silos. So this is really very much important. Lack of coordination and resource mobilization efforts is also low. For information, most of the agencies, the sectors have working groups. For example, we have water working group and other sector, agriculture working groups, but urban, no, like groups. So now, this clearly shows us that there must be kind of cooperated and integrated approach to move and support this rapidly growing urbanization in Ethiopia. So what are the objectives of this platform? The first one is to have a common strategy and coordinated approach among all urban agenda partners, urban implementing partners, to properly and support the urbanization process in the country. Because, for example, if it's UN-Habitat actually usually works with the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction, and UNICEF from my UN agencies, UNICEF works with the Ministry of Women and Children, or WHO works with other sectors. So when it comes to urban, it's really scattered. So there must be a kind of cooperated approach here. Optimization of the resource as well. Because if we function like in a silos and scattered everywhere, so the use of resource will be really low. And the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction, the focal ministry to lead the urban agenda in the country, may not be able to coordinate those partners, even acknowledge the importance and the contribution of those sectors. And again, regular communication is also needed. And those partners who are really operating in the urban agenda requires really regular coordination, meeting, not just to know who is doing what, but also how can we further collaborate and how can we further really come together and support toward the sustainable urban development in the country. And that goes into planning processes and aligning the implementation of all the partners, the activities of all the partners into the national 10 years plan, both the plan that Dr. Namara mentioned and that of the ministry, the focal ministry. Again, joint resource mobilization is also key for the implementing partners as well as the donors who are present here. I know that when SIDA agreed to finance this initiative, they were mentioning that they are supporting lots of agencies that are working in urban, but those agencies don't read one another. They don't even know who is doing what. So this platform will benefit not only to support the urbanization process, but also to maximize the available resources and mobilize more resources towards the sustainable urban agenda. Finally, the important objective of this platform is also advocating urban jointly. Because urban in Ethiopia, people just refer to that number, or 20%, 22% urban, but they miss the benefit and the contribution of urbanization to the entire economic development. So we jointly, as partners, advocate urban together. Then all the partners could understand the role of urbanization as well. So the main activities of this platform are really three. The first one is coordination towards achieving both the global goal, SDG 11, cities and communities. It's really good that we have standalone goal, and that of new urban agenda. And then again, when it comes to national level, supporting the ministry in achieving its 10 years plan. That is coordination. And two, monitoring. How can we jointly monitor the implementation of those donors who are really, those implementing partners who are really working in urban agenda? The third one is advocacy and knowledge sharing. Because in Ethiopia, whether the agencies or partners are implementing urban agenda or not, the knowledge and experiences are scattered here and there, so there should be a platform to share knowledge and experience. And again, last year, the participation of these stakeholders were very high, but this year, the present partners approached almost 50 stakeholders, both like from the ministry high-level officials, about 11, and from academia, we have universities and other learning institutions, and also international NGOs, donors, and development agencies, including UN agencies. We have about 50 identified urban agenda partners. This is really a huge resource. If we put our hands together, we could better support the sustainable urban development in the country. So the functions of this platform goes from a political, high-level political coordination meeting, which is aligned with the National Urban Forum, which is led by the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction. Then that could help also to share the knowledge and the role of this platform. And we are also planning to have a quarterly technical meeting where all the high-level contributors of urban agenda could come together and for technical meeting, which is programming, planning, and sharing knowledge. And again, dialogue sections among urban partners. And finally, publications and advocacy are the roles. So what are the updates? If this is the function of the urban agenda partners, what are the updates? So the update is that, after the introduction of this urban agenda platform, after the launching of this urban agenda partners platform in 2019, October, the communication between the urban agenda partners has increased, because during that session, very good introduction among the urban agenda partners have been carried out. So based on that introduction, most of the urban agenda partners have started communicating to each other and started to plan and move forward. And the indication of that, UN-Habitat is really now working closely with most of the urban agenda partners. So because of the COVID, the effect of the COVID, we could not convene the consecutive meetings, both the quarterly and these dialogue sections. I hope here on we could proceed with the quarterly meeting and dialogue section as well as the COVID. Finally, I would like really to thank you for coming and welcome you to this workshop. Thank you very much.
Kindly indicate your name, the organization, and if it's the case of your contribution to sustainable urban development in Ethiopia.
I am Jarso Golisa. I come from Addis Ababa Housing Development and Administration Bureau. We have joined into the urban agenda recently, and we have been communicating online until yesterday, and I'm very happy to be part of the meeting even today. Thank you very much.
My name is Fantadajan from Urban Development and Construction Minister.
My name is Khalid Abdurrahman. I'm State Minister in Urban Development and Construction.
Galam Tadassa from Federal Housing Corporation.
I am Masfinago from the Ifitri Construction Works and Regulatory Authority. My name is Geta Chailu from Ministry of Urban Development and Construction. I'm Senior Communication Expert.
I'm Elena Lovat from the Italian Agency for Development Cooperation. We are contributing with a 5 million grant for the Beautifying Shager program. Thank you for this invitation, and of course we are very interested to join this cooperation and coordination. Thank you very much.
I am Basrat Kafle from Ethiopian Civil Service University, College of Urban Development Engineering. I am a Deputy Dean for that.
I am Tamru Fufa from Transport Minister, Senior Advisor of Transport Minister.
My name is Ephraim Amdork. I am representing the Cities Alliance under INOPS. We have been working for a long time with the Ministry of Urban Development and Housing, with the UN-Habitat and other partners. We are currently working on the cities and migration as well as urban expansion. Thank you.
Good morning. I am Fatia from Ministry of Transport, Bureau Head to the Transport Service Coordinating Bureau.
Okay, I'm Gaddisa Hailu from SNDV. We have some project on sanitation on rural and pre-urban towns.
I am Gitacho Shumiye from Urban Job Creation and Food Security Agency.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Meron Dababa. I represent Switzerland Embassy. We have urban development related project which is financed from headquarters, but from country perspective as well. We are designing a durable solution related project with a huge urban and displacement elements in it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Dawid Kifle. I'm from the British Embassy. We are involved in different sectors supporting the Ethiopian government, and there is a special program on Ethiopian Investment Advisory Facility, which intends and plans to support the industrial parks and trade corridors. In the new year, we expect the Ethiopian government and regional governments to support the program. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Nobuhisa Edamura from Japanese Embassy. Infrastructure sector is one of the pillars of our cooperation policy to Ethiopia, and we have been, contributing to the infrastructure development under our policy to Ethiopia. And also, we are planning to start a new program to support capacity building of the urban planning in the several cities in Ethiopia. We are now discussing with the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction. Thank you.
Hello again. My name is Per Shavastik. I'm Deputy Head of the section at the Swedish Embassy. Sweden has been instrumental, as we heard, in creating this platform. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, my name is Elminore. I'm from Embassy of Sweden, Program Manager for Climate and Environment.
Good morning, my name is Caroline Daula and I work with UNHCR. And here in Addis Ababa, we are exploring the possibility of including refugees in urban development, especially exploring durable solutions, and we are working with all entities, government and other partners to see how that can be fully achieved. We all know that forced displacement has become a big problem across the world, and we are looking for solutions that can help solve that. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Malcolm Sarawera, and I'm from CCRD.
Good morning. My name is Gyeongshim An. I'm from the World Bank, Senior Urban Specialist. Together with my colleagues, and World Bank has built a long-term partnership with the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction. As you may know, we have a series of financing operations supporting the secondary cities in Ethiopia, as well as various analytical studies from urbanization review, London housing, industrial park, affordable housing, and competitive cities, and the urban resilience and disaster risk management. Very nice to meet you.
Good morning. My name is Brahanu Degese. I'm Senior Public Sector Specialist in the World Bank. As Gonshim said, the bank has been supporting and still supporting in most of the areas in Addis as well as in the cities. Particularly, we are currently involved in two aspects, in the urban safety net program and the urban UIDP program, which will be presented subsequently.
Good morning. My name is Lavun Verstraete from UNICEF. I'm the Urban Wash Manager at UNICEF. So we have an Urban Wash program. We are currently supporting full integrated investment programs in 12 towns and 3 refugee host community areas, with supporting water infrastructure, sanitation, fecal sludge management, solid waste management, and then also the utility strengthening. We're also starting a new program with where we will support around 10 town water utilities. So all those are medium-sized towns, small medium-sized towns that are rapidly growing. And apart from this, we are also supporting the One Wash National Program in coordination and the currently ongoing regulation, the wash sector regulation. Yeah, thank you.
Good morning, I'm Eden and I'm representing Ethiopian Urban Planning Association.
Morning, I am Abebe Zalul from the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction.
Good morning, I am Abdul Jamal, MDC Construction Industry Competitiveness Enrichment Bureau Head.
Good morning, my name is Ethiopia Balicha from Ministry of Urban Development and Construction.
My name is Argawasha. I am representing Ethiopian Construction Project Management Institute. Since urban agenda comes, the construction, the building is one of the sector, and my institution is working on capacity building, giving trainings and other service for the construction industries, especially the building sectors participants. Since I am living in urban agenda belongs to me, and I belongs to urban agenda. Thank you.
My name is Dereja Adunya. I'm from Habitat for Humanity Ethiopia. I think as the name implies, Habitat is working on shelter and wash. Habitat has been in Ethiopia for almost 27 years now, and we are actually working with UN-Habitat, and we're trying also to be working in coordination. And we are very much pleased to see this platform. It's actually would bring all those small resources to actually bring a very sustainable change in the urban, because Habitat has got an urban slum upgrading in Addis Ababa. If you know most of the areas like Lideta and Gulele and Agaki, those are the areas where we're working. We have got also 18 towns outside Addis Ababa where we are providing shelter. But basically, we are targeting those who are no income, at the same time disabled, and people who is in disadvantage. Thank you very much.
My name is Alamak Aftaso. I'm from Habitat for Humanity Ethiopia. As my predecessor explained, Habitat is one of the organization mainly working in shelter. We are pioneering shelter. We are very much happy to be part of this platform. This is very good for us and to work more and reach more the vulnerable and vulnerable people who are lack of shelter. So we are very much happy to be part of this platform. Thank you.
I am Eleni Ashaber from WRI, or Water Resources Institute. We have been part of the platform since its establishment. We have been working mainly on the transport sector at the ministry level and city level. We are also working with the different city agencies on how green or city forests are important and how to link them to the larger urban development agenda in Ethiopia. Currently, we are working or we are discussing with the ministry on how to support the revision of the urban development policy, which has been in practice and since the last 15 years ago. And we are very happy to continue as a partner in reaching or in supporting the ministry to address its agendas and goals related to the prospective plan.
My name is Chakole Mogus. I am from the International Labour Organization. The ILO is one of the leading agency on the urban agenda globally. So the ILO will contribute to this agenda on employment creation, livelihoods, and adhering the labor standards, plus promoting the decent working conditions. Thank you.
My name is Gurma Samu. I am from IPDC, Industrial Parks Development Corporation, and I'm very much grateful to the organizers of this session, and I look forward to working together and contribute our share in the achievement of the aims and objectives of the platform. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Adunya Soboka, working on urban land expert.
Good morning, my name is Gzacho Sisai. I'm from UNDP. UNDP is in fact working on the urban agenda, among others. To mention some of them, one is the waste management in 6 cities together with the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction. And also the other recently launched is the supporting the Sugar project together with the UN-Habitat and the Addis Ababa City Administration. Thank you.
I am Abarash from Ministry of Urban Development and Construction, Women, Children and Youth Director. My ministry is working every urban agenda to be inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I invite you all for a 15 minutes break. After the break, we will come back together. We will have a presentation by the World Bank about the Urban Institutional Infrastructure Development Program, challenges post-COVID-19 or during COVID-19. Presentation on the new urban agenda SDG 11 and the UN-Habitat New Country Program that is aligned with the new United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework. And a presentation on the flagship programs from the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction.
ፕሮግራም የአርባን ኦክቶበር የዚህ የጥቅምት የከተሞች ወር ነው። በዚህ የዚህ ወር ከተያዙ አጀንዳዎች አንደኛው አጀንዳ በከተማ አጀንዳ ላይ የሚሰሩ በከተማ ላይ በርካታ ስራዎች የሚሰሩ በርካታ የልማት አጋሮች አሉ። ስለዚህ እነዚህን የልማት አጋሮች እየሰሩ ያሉትንም ነገር አብሮ ማየትና በጋራ ገምግመን እየተሰራ ያለውን ነገር እንደ አዲስ ደግሞ እንደ መንግስት በአሁኑ አመት ያዘጋጀ ነው የ10 አመት የመሪ ልማት እቅዳችንን ለነሱ አሳይተን በዛ እቅድ ውስጥ ደግሞ እኛ ያቀድናቸው በርካታ አዳዲስ የነሱን ድጋፍ የሚፈልጉ ትልልቅ ፕሮጀክቶች አሉንና እነዛን ፕሮጀክቶች ለነሱ ለማስተዋወቅ ነው። እዛው ያለን ደግሞ እነዚህ እስከዛሬ ሲሰሩ የነበሩ ስራዎች በምን መንገድ እየተሰሩ እንደሆነ የትኛው የልማት አጋር የት ጋር ምን እየሰራ እንደሆነ ተናበን እንድንሄድና ቅንጅታዊ አሰራር እንዲኖር በማሰብ የተዘጋጀ ፕሮግራም ነው። ይሄ ፕላትፎርም የተቋቋመው አምና በዚህ ወር ነው። አምናን የተቋቋመው እስካሁን ድረስ በአመቱ ሙሉ የሰራነውን ስራ በጋራ ገመግማለን። ከዛ በመቀጠል ደግሞ አዳዲስ ስራዎች እኛ ድጋፍ የምንፈልግባቸውን ኤሪያዎች መንግስት የቱ ጋር ትኩረት ማድረግ እንደሚፈልግ እናሳያቸዋለን። ስለዚህ እነሱ ደግሞ ከራሳቸው እንግዲህ በፈረንጆቹ አቆጣጠር አዲስ እቅድ የሚታቀድበት ጊዜ ላይም ስለሆንን እኛ እቅዳችንን ለነሱ ይፋ በማድረጋችንና በማስተዋወቃችን የተሻለ ድጋፍ እናገኛለን። አምና ባደረግነው እንደዚህ አይነት ውይይት በርካታ የልማት አጋሮች ወደ ተቋማችን መጥተው እኛ የያዝናቸውን እቅዶች ለመደገፍ ፍላጎት አሳይተዋል። በቅርቡ ጊዜ የጸደቀው የከተማ ልማታዊ ሴፍቲኔት ፕሮግራም ከ11 ከተማ ወደ 83 ከተማ የሰፋውን በእንደዚህ አይነት ውይይቶች ነበር። ስለዚህ እዚህ ሀገር ላይ በጣም ብዙ የልማት አጋሮች በከተማ አጀንዳ ላይ ይሰራሉ፣ በተለያየ ከተማ ላይ ይሰራሉ። ግን ደግሞ ተናበን አንድ ከተማ ላይ የሚወርደው ሀብት ውጤታማ እንዲሆንና ለታለመለት ዓላማ ውጤት እንዲያመጣ ሁላችንም መናበብ አለብን፣ መተጋገዝ አለብን። መንግስት ደግሞ ሊመራቸው ይገባል። ሁሉም በየፊናው እየተነሳ እዚህም እዛም የሚሰራውን ነገር ሰብሰብ አድርገን እየገመገምን እያየን እውነትም ህዝቡ ከዚህ ጉዳይ ወይ ከተሞቻችን ከነዚህ ቅንጥሮች ፕሮጀክቶች ተጠቃሚ ይሆናል መሆናቸውን በጋራ እያየን እንድንሄድ የሚያግዘን የመወያያ ፕላትፎርም ነው እና እነሱም እርስ በርስ እንዲተዋወቁ ማን ምን እየሰራ የት እየሰራ እንደሆነ እንዲያውቁ እኛ ደግሞ መሪ ሆነን እየመራናቸው የትኛው ከተማ ምን እንደሚፈልግ እያሳየናቸው የእኛ ትኩረት ኤሪያ የቱ ጋር እንደሆነ እንድናሳያቸው ያሰበነው። በዚህኛው ፕሮግራም ወደ 9 የሚሆኑ ፍላግሺፕ ፕሮጀክቶች ለነሱ ግልጽ ይደረጋሉ። 3ቱ ከዚህ ቀደም እየተሰራባቸው ያሉ ግን መስፋት የሚፈልጉ ብዙ ከተሞች ላይ መሰራት የሚፈልጉ ናቸው። 6ቱ ደግሞ አዳዲሶች ናቸው። በተለይ ደግሞ በመሬትና በፕላን ጉዳይ ላይ የፕላንና የመሬት ጉዳይን ሪፎርም ለማድረግ በጣም ትልቅ ፕሮጀክት ይዘናል። አንዱና ዋናው ትኩረታችን እሱ ነው። የስራ እድል ፈጠራ ሌላኛው አጀንዳችን ነው። ሌሎችም በርካታ አጀንዳዎች አሉን በሚኒስትሪው ስር። ስለዚህ ያሰብነውን የ10 አመት የልማት እቅድ ለማሳካት ለውጥ ሊመጣባቸው የሚገቡ ኤሪያዎችን መርጠን 9 ፕሮጀክቶችን ቀርጸናል። ከእነሱ ውስጥ 6ቱን እናስተዋውቃለን። 4ቱን በዚህ አመት ከመንግስት የተወሰነ በጀት ይዘናል። የእነሱን ተጨማሪ ድጋፍ ካገኘን ወደ ስራ በቀጥታ ልንገባበት የምንችለው ነው። ስለዚህ ቅድም ራሳቸውን ሲያስተዋውቁ እንደሰማ ነው ብዙዎቹ ብዙ ከተማ ላይ ስራ እየሰሩ ነው። ስለዚህ ይሄ ሰብሰብ ብሎ በመንግስት እውቅና አብረን እየሰራን ለታለመለት ዓላማ መዋሉን አብረን እያየን ማስፋትና መቀጠል ይኖርብናል ብለን ስለምናምን ይሄ በሁሉም ዓለም አለ እንዲህ አይነት ፕላትፎርም። ስለዚህ በኢትዮጵያ እንግዲህ 1 አመቱ ነው ዛሬ። ይሄንን ያው ለማስቀጠልና ሌሎች ብዙ ሊያግዙ የሚፈልጉ አካላት ኢትዮጵያ በከተማ አጀንዳ ላይ ምን እያደረገች እንደሆነ ለማስመዝገብ ከተሜነት ወደ ሀገራችን እንዴት ተገዳዳሪ በሆነ መንገድ እየመጣ እንደሆነ ለማሳየት እድል የምናገኝበት ፕላትፎርም አድርገን ነው።
We'll now have a presentation from World Bank on the Urban Institutional Infrastructure Development Program challenges post-COVID-19. You are welcome.
My name is Dinkana. I'm from World Bank. I'm Urban Development Specialist. I will try to briefly discuss what World Bank is trying to support the urban agenda of the country. As you may know, the bank has tried to review the urbanization trend in the country. So from that analysis and study, the urban population is going to increase as you triple between 2007 and 2028. By 2037, 50% of the population in Ethiopia will be living in the urban centers. Also, as the trend shown in the previous slide, the urbanization is also positive and contributing to the economic growth of the country. The growth which was witnessed in the past was about 10.4% between 2003 and 2013. 2013, yeah. The cities contribute to 38% of the GDP and 15% of total workforce. As you may see, the agriculture really deploy much more than this labor force. When it comes to GDP contribution, cities are really driving the economic growth and the economic development, and they have a pivotal role. Assuming the sustained high growth rate, Ethiopia could reach middle income by 2030. This is an estimate. Currently, the per capita income is 750 USD. In 2030, after 10 years, this is an estimate and the projected figure. Urbanization is usually associated with economic growth. So when you see on the graph the different countries' level of urbanization and the level of economic status they have, it's really correlate with what they have in terms of population in their urban centers. Coming to Ethiopia, unless otherwise we start managing our urban centers proactively, we will be victim with the challenge and urban complex problems that will be that are really currently faced by different countries because they missed a lot of opportunities. For instance, in terms of jobs, this is the amount of 70 million jobs are really needed by 2035. Infrastructure, huge infrastructure backlogs is really visible in the country. So the 12 billion amount of USD amount of investment is required. When it comes to the urbanization, different literatures and different studies shows some countries have missed and lost the opportunity to really make advantage out of the urbanization. So once we miss this opportunity, we'll be going to face a lot of challenges. And there are countries in Africa like Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, which are really facing huge challenge because of this urbanization doesn't correlate or go with economic development that's required. Cognizant to this fact, the government of Ethiopia approached the bank and start working with the bank on different fronts, starting from establishing legal status of municipalities, because in the previous time, municipalities were not that well structured, well institutionalized. They don't have a clear mandate, responsibility, duty. So first, the bank, together with the government, start at least instituting or making the cities a functioning one. So in line with that, municipal functioning management, municipal revenue source management, municipal expenditures, municipal budgeting process, this was studied because the bank has experience over the past 2 decades. The first work around this, and there were some projectized approaches, one of which has really pivotal and foundation for the urban development agenda in this country was capacity building for decentralized service delivery. Under this program, over 200 manuals, prototype proclamations were drafted, and which are still now serve as a base for most of urban development activities in the country. So these studies helped the cities to be formal, based on the formal institution, formal structure. This really study helped the government as well as the bank to really use it as a springboard to design the first urban local development program that was amount more than 300 million USD from the bank, and the counterpart budget was more than 100 million. It really helped cities, around 18 cities benefited out of this program. So these were some of the historical engagement aspects that really culminate in a $1 billion program, which is currently supporting around 170 secondary cities in Ethiopia. To give you a snapshot on the second phase of urban local government development program, the objective was to really enhance the institutional performance as well as help cities to expand infrastructure. The main expenditure items were for 44 ULGs. The fund was around 410 million, and these cities use the fund to expand their infrastructure. 9 regional government entities benefited capacity building support because the regions were having a role to help cities implement the program smoothly. So different bureaus like environment, finance, urban development bureau at the region were active supporters and stakeholders. Also, Ministry of Urban have been handholding cities which were not covered by these regions, as well as overall management of the program was handled by the ministry. The program financing amounts, as I have said, $500 million, and it really helped 44 cities to support their infrastructure expansion. And when it comes to the number of people who benefited out of this program, it's about 5 million. The program closed in December 2019. The amount of resource which was distributed is shown in this slide. The bank implements this project under an instrument which is called Program for Result. The program is government program. The bank implement portion of that program through different areas, and cities were evaluated under different, we call it disbursement linked indicators. For instance, disbursement linked indicator 1 refers to a minimum entry requirement, which annually independent consultants go to each and every city to assess whether that particular city is eligible to participate in this program or not. In this DLI, for instance, there are around 20 sub indicators: financial management, planning and budgeting, environment management, assignment of staff. These were some of the areas which were required. So this was the amount of resource distributed or allocated to participating program cities, as well as regions, as well as to the ministry. This was the trend, the implementation trend. When you see overall, the cities were performing above the target. So that's why cities implement the program successfully and benefited out of this support. And for any one of you who might have chance to visit these cities, the change and the transformation is very much visible in these cities, because they have expanded their infrastructure. In terms of institution, they managed to close their account timely. They have audit report. These kind of things were really what we claim as success of the program. To mention some, for instance, 44 cities are up to date with their audit. Before this program, or before World Bank started engaging with this Ministry of Urban to help cities, no city in the country were having audit report. But after this program, especially after the second phase of urban local government development program, 44 cities have become up to date. even 20 cities, audit was unqualified. Capital investment plan utilization rate was about 79%. Improved revenue generation. Before this program, cities do not know what amount of money they are going to collect. Simply, the plan was ad hoc, even their performance was not that significant. In fact, still now, cities are below the amount of money to invest for infrastructure, but this program has really shown a tremendous amount of change. Some cities have really recorded 400% increase in their revenue generation capacity because of this program. In terms of participation, the capital investment plan in the previous time was prepared by sectors or mayor and his cabinet, but this time this program requires capital investment planning to be participatory. So each segment or quarter of the neighborhood has a say in the capital investment planning preparation as well as implementation. These are some of the investment areas like urban cobblestone roads. More than 1,250 kilometers were constructed. Urban gravel roads, service land for industry as well as housing, and micro and small scale enterprise expansion. These were some of public park and greenery. These were some of the financed projects under the program. When it comes to the big achievement of this program, the job creation, because the program finances urban-wide construction, which are micro and small-scale enterprises can do. So through this, urban unemployed users, especially the disadvantaged women, physically challenged people, get chance to be employed in this massive construction of cobblestone roads. As I have said, 1,250 kilometers means it employs a lot of people. In the first phase, over 300,000 youth get chance to get employment. In the second phase, more than 650,000 users benefited job creation. Also, this program has really provided youth as a seed money, because after engaging in one or two contracts, because of the amount of money or income they generate, these users have become businessmen. They engage in different kind of businesses, merchandise, this tuk-tuk, they buy tuk-tuk and start their own business, and different kind of activities were really made possible for users to use their entrepreneurship capacity. This is as far as urban local government second phase is concerned. My colleague Jongshim will present UIDP.
Thank you, Dinkne. So building on the effective and successful intervention by the previous projects called ULGDP and ULGDP2, World Bank, together with the Ministry of Urban Development, agreed to scale up the activities, and this Ethiopia Urban Institutional and Infrastructure Development Program, UIDP, were born with scaled up number of cities from 44, the previous 44, to 117 cities. So expanded geographic coverage, expanded beneficiaries, number of beneficiaries, and increased financing envelope from 400 to 600. And the objective of this UIDP was to enhance the institution performance of 117 participating cities to develop and sustain infrastructure, services, and local economic development. In addition to what ULGDP and ULGDP2 supported in the past, UIDP continues to support the government program, namely the National Spatial Plan, which is promoting the regionally balanced development across the country, leveraging the regional capital in the nine regional governments. And secondly, the GTP2, the backbone of the economic growth and the social development of the country, which is promoting, which is recognizing the role of urban sector for the economic growth, and also recognizing the importance of proactive management of urbanization to tighten the link between the urbanization and economic growth. And thirdly, Ethiopian cities' sustainable prosperity goals. So UIDP is basically in support of all the government plans, strategy, and the programs. And key design figures, as opposed to ULGDP2, it's a hybrid. It's largely performance for result program, as was the case for the ULGDP2, but to make the whole operation a little bit more effective and support the cities and the regions on the capacity development element, it has a small component for infrastructure investment project financing, which is a different instrument in the World Bank. And it has a new focus area as opposed to the previous operations. Now, in the past, it's largely about the infrastructure, it's about the services, it's about the capacity of the urban governance and management in the 44 cities. But now with the UIDP, there is a highlighted focus area, namely local economic development, highlighting the importance of job creation through the project intervention. And disaster risk management and urban resilience is the second focus area. And lastly, about the importance of engaging and empowering the women's group in the country. So we added more performance indicators relating to these three new focus areas for economy, for resilience, and the gender mainstreaming. The financing, again, it's 600 million from World Bank. About $11 million from Agence Française de Développement, and the government is putting about 250 million as counterpart contribution. And it's largely performance-based grants through PIP4 performance for grant instrument, and a small component, about $40 million of investment program project facility. And Dingne explained about the so-called dispersed linked indicator, which is a performance indicator to incentivize the participating cities and regions to perform as per the targets. And we have 10 under UIDP, grouped into three. One, targeting the urban local government, cities, to deliver infrastructure and services. It includes 4 indicators about the infrastructure and services, and the second group is to help the regional governments to improve their capacity on the financial management, social and environmental management, and revenue enhancement, support to the cities, and also about public procurement. And the last indicator was to supplement the previous program. And with this intervention, UIDP aims to achieve a number of key results, including the enhanced citizen participation in the city planning and budgeting process. And there is a certain indicators to ensure that citizens are engaged in the planning of capital investment at the city level, and dialoguing with the private sector and so on. And second target is to improve efficiency and effectiveness in fiduciary management. And this is in line with our previous support in the UIGDP 2. And the third target, the new one introduced in the UIDP, is about strengthened urban resilience, improved local economic development, and enhanced gender equity in terms of the participation, economic opportunity, and empowerment of the women group. We have a specific target, how many percentage of the beneficiaries should be a female group, how many of newly created jobs should go to the women group, and so on, and how many women representatives should participate in the stakeholder engagement workshop and the planning process as well. And the fourth target is, again, in continuation of our previous support, it's increased own source revenue. Because now in the face of COVID-related economic shocks, I think cities who are in the front line of dealing with all these disasters and the emergencies, they see the decrease in their revenues because of the shrinking economic activity in the city. But we have identified a number of areas that cities can explore further to expand their revenue sources, including the property tax, including rebasing the rates that are currently outrageously low in supplying the basic services like water, solid waste, and so on. So there are ways to improve the municipal finance at the city level, and UIDP is supporting to look into that area as well. And improved environmental and social management and safeguards. This is again in continuation of our previous support. And improved the infrastructure service delivery and O&M system. This is the natural results of our support to the infrastructure and the municipal services. And lastly, on the strengthened accountability and oversight system, we have introduced a number of indicators to ensure that the urban management system at the city and the regional level will be made transparent and accountable, and the oversight system is strongly established. If the cities or regions do not meet these performance indicators, they will not be getting the funds that are allocated for those cities and regions. So they are naturally, by the mechanism, they are naturally incentivized to comply with and achieve the targets in the design. And we have done 2 rounds of annual performance assessment this year and the last year and the previous year. And in summary, the cities have overachieved the targets. We have about 100 indicators for the cities and regions to meet, and their performance are actually better than the target. So the UIDP disbursements was larger than the originally anticipated fund allocation for each year. Now about the COVID, in the context of COVID, we all know that it's no longer a health crisis, it's now economic crisis. And according to the World Bank study, per capita GDP is expected to contract by about 6.5% in sub-Saharan Africa for the first time in 20 years. And it may offset all the progress that have been made in the past decade in the continent. And COVID-related economic shocks may push more than 40 million people into extreme poverty again. This is a serious number, 40 million people. And employment and livelihoods are being impacted, and we can see everywhere in the country, in Ethiopia as well, with the collapse of the markets and the value chain, the demand of goods and services. And if we compare urban and rural, obviously given the agglomeration of people, economic activities, and the dense setting itself, urban is a lot more impacted compared to the other areas. And also, there is a strong opportunity again relating to these challenges. And COVID, more specifically in Ethiopia, COVID has exposed cities' weakness in disaster management system. And according to our macroeconomic team, the COVID-related economic contraction may push the poverty rate by 7%, which would cancel out the poverty reduction gains since 2005. So 15 years setback if we do not manage the risk well in the coming month and the years. And many firms are reported to be affected, more than 89%, and and several of them closed their operations already, and that has a ripple effect on the individual employees and job seekers. So this gives an indication that when we help the cities to recover from the economic shock, prudently think about how to build back better. That is the term that is used in the World Bank. And there is a strong need for more resilient and inclusive urban planning, considering the density, matching the social and the physical infrastructure, and how to redesign and reutilize the open space and resource management. That would be an important question to the decision makers. As an immediate response, in consultation with the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction, the bank team, together with the regional and the city governments, have made a quick adaptation to the project design to help the cities to respond to the COVID-19 immediate response. And some of the activities were converted from the previous planned capital investment planning to help the cities to strengthen services to isolation centers, to healthcare facilities, and some public hotspots. So, and building public toilet or water reservoir or water tankers that are the primarily required services to deal with the health pandemic. And some cities purchased protective PPE, personal protective equipment, the masks, supplies, sanitizers, soaps, and water, portable water stations as well, and hand washing facilities in congested areas and the public hotspots again. And together with this physical support, there was a massive awareness campaign through television and radio and other ways. And UIDP was quickly adapted to support those activities that were initiated by the government. But going forward, I think there is a big question for the city and the ministry to think about how to recover from the shocks more sustainably, more resiliently, more inclusively, and jobs and livelihoods come to the first question. Again, build that better approach should be taken to make the cities more inclusive and greener and more resilient. And while urban area was most impacted by COVID-19, also there is an opportunity because of this urbanization, concentration of people and economic activity to create more jobs. And typical example is to, while strengthening the basic infrastructure and services, we can take like labor-intensive methodology for construction that was promoted under UIGDP2, cobblestone road, massive group of vulnerable members of the community, like youth, unemployed women, and handicapped, that were engaged to help the construction works. And that can be continued to be promoted. And focus on the underserved communities, targeting the vulnerable group of the communities again, and engaging those workforces readily available in the community themselves. And there is also a study indicating housing investments can have a strong job multiplier effect. So the government can look into that area as well. Still, there are challenges relating to the land management mechanism and practices, and still like distorted or impacted and fragmented markets, and weak planning processes, and the limited finance at the city and the federal level. But I think, again, this crisis gives an opportunity to rethink about the development model for the cities, and when we build back or recover from this crisis, we can introduce this concept of making the cities more resilient. Density is not always telling that it's a channel of transmission of pandemic. If we compare Mumbai and New York, they have similar density, but different level of concentration. So density is not the like absolute indicator for getting out of the concept in this case, but we can, if we put social and physical infrastructure in the right density, that will help the cities to maintain the system more sustainably. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Really, it was a very good presentation from the World Bank. And it's really hard for us to be the second presenter from following the World Bank, who puts lots of resources and support to the urbanization, the urban agenda in Ethiopia. But so UN-Habitat is, when compared in terms of resource, we are a small agency, but full of experiences in supporting urban agenda. So I will not take too much time. A lot to come. I hope the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction will tell us what they've planned for the next 10 years, and that will be really our guiding document to support the urbanization process in the country. So mine will be a slide. I hope you can see it from there. The SDG 11, the standalone goal from out of that 17 SDGs is our guiding document as a UN agency to support the urbanization process in Ethiopia, and the new urban agenda, which guides all the all member states for the coming 20 years on how to lead urbanization. Just to highlight this, the new urban agenda has about 5 core areas where member states, including Ethiopia, to follow, at least to focus. The first one is policy. The urbanization has to be led by policy. Actually, Ethiopia has got its own urban policy. The second one is basically rules and regulations that could be derived from the urban policy. That is number 2. Third is about the planning. The cities, if there are policies, rules, and regulations, based on those rules and regulations, there should be a plan, a spatial plan. The cities has to be led by a proper plan. And following that, there must be also a finance, urban economy, what we call it, urban finance, urban economy and municipal finance. If there is no finance, if there is no resource, whether we have a very good plan or not, it will be really hard for us. And then the next is having very good implementation projects. Based on that, UN-Habitat globally and as well as in Ethiopia have been supporting the urbanization process. All over the world, UN-Habitat is focusing on 4 main areas, basically to reduce spatial inequalities all over the world. Inequality, when we refer, people may consider other diameters or other dimension to measure inequality, but we, as urban specialists or urban institution, we look at the spatial dimension of inequalities, even in the city, within the cities, and between the cities and rural areas. So spatially, how is the distribution of inequalities? And enhancing shared prosperity of cities and regions. How can we share the prosperity of cities? If we have like a richer cities, I mean cities that are generating huge economic potential, and if we have poor rural areas, that will be huge inequality. So how can we share the benefits or the economies generated from cities with the rural areas, even the entire region? And again, at global level, still strengthen climate action and improved urban environment, basically focusing on environment and effective urban crisis, because cities are really, most of the cities in Ethiopia as well, along the world, are really vulnerable to crisis. So how can we mitigate those crises? These are the areas that globally UN-Habitat focusing in terms of addressing the SDG 11 and as using new urban agenda as implementation. As it is really suggested in the new urban agenda, we as UN-Habitat globally consider the key areas of new urban agenda as a driving force, both planning policies, focusing on policies, regulations, legislation, urban planning and design, governance, and finance as a key areas. When it comes to Ethiopia, where are we? I mean, Ethiopia is the population of 105 million, urbanization as low as 22%, but the growth is really 5.4, which is really the highest in East Africa. But the contribution of the cities is really huge, is above 50%. So, and some facts about the urban when it comes to the implementation of SDG 11 and for the UN-Habitat to design its country program. As we all know, urbanization is rapidly growing, policies exist, strategies are still there, and even like regulations are there, but the implementation has to be checked. The economic importance of the cities is increasing, and urban growth in most of the cities is really unplanned. So in terms of milestone, we have really very good opportunities. As explained this morning from keynotes, urbanization has been considered or acknowledged or recognized in the national plan. That's a very good opportunity. And the programs and the strategies, the policies, the availability of these policies, very good opportunity for us. So long, what has UN-Habitat doing for like the last 4, 5, 6 years? We've been focusing in several activities. Just to mention some, UN-Habitat has been focusing on capacity building, city leaders training. Thanks to the support, financial support of SIDA, the government of Sweden, we've been supporting training city leaders, because that is the missing link. Whoever comes in as a leader of the city, there must be a capacity building training, because urbanization is not a sector. It is a kind of combination of all the sectors. It's a cross-cutting. So there must be some capacity training. That's why we are intervening, and we've been doing capacity building training. Technical support to urban and regional planning. And the regional planning that was initiated so long and also moving on now. And there is also some intervention in making city resilience. We've been implementing a participatory approach, what we call city resilience action planning tool, just supporting cities to plan on the possible ways of making the cities resilient. Institutional coordination, the platform that we are using now, And we are also introducing such kind of platforms in the cities as well. We've started this platform, for example, bringing the industrial parks and the cities, like I said, kind of to operate in a collaborative way, because we've started this in Hawassa, where we have this functioning industrial park, because the industrial park corporation and the city administration had been operating in silos, so we have to bring them in together, and that's also a coordination platform. Again, we are also focusing after this crisis of IDPs in the country. UN-Habitat is really actively participating in this, how can we incorporate IDPs into the urban system. Even the camps are now becoming settlements, already cities. So how can we support the government to better design and even see the linkages between the existing settlement or cities and the upcoming IDP settlements? And again, the COVID response. So we are also thinking, planning to do cities post-COVID, and what should cities look like after COVID? COVID is really challenging the resilience capacity of cities. So how can the cities be really like withstand this shock? Like COVID is a shock for the cities. How can they withstand? How can they keep resilient towards against this challenge? So for the moment, UN-Habitat is intervening in informal settlements. How? Because that's where there is no facilities, and then those areas should be supported. Again, we are also intervening in open markets, because open markets are really highly really vulnerable to this challenge of COVID. So we are supporting some cities in designing markets and also rearranging the seating arrangement of those open markets and access. And again, we are also very much engaged in this Sugar project. As my colleague from UN-Habitat, UNDP explained, we are engaged in Sugar project. Our basic intervention in Sugar project is just to see the alignment of Sugar project, the entire 57 kilometers, how is it aligned with the master plan or the plan of the city, and then again piloting one site. In terms of presence, we are covering some 5-6 cities, focusing on supports on structure plan to the IDPs level. So currently, our future country program will focus on 5 pillars. The first one still remains urban and regional planning. The cities still require a capacity, because basically focusing on the cities that are hosting industrial parks. So those cities require really high-level technical support in revising the restructure plan to better support the industrialization process. And again, the regional planning, the one we initiated with the support of the CEDA fund, will be establishing the urban lab with that support, that the urban lab with lots of international and local urban planners to support the regional planning and urban planning. Urban environment and basic services, adequate shelter or housing, urban economy, and urban land management are the key pillars. To see some details of our interventions, capacity building is a cross-cutting, but when we see it into the detail, we've already identified thematic areas where to intervene. We did a quick assessment to identify capacity gaps. So we've already identified areas of intervention. The training is going on. I hope next month we will be organizing the second or the third training for city leaders. So all the mayors, city managers will be given like a high-level executive training in collaboration with the universities. So that's going on. Regional planning and urban planning will still remain our priority. Basically supporting, for example, the support in Bahar Dar, in Hawassa. We are documenting that experience to be shared to other cities that are still hosting industrial parks. This is really crucial. Unless the cities are supported or provided with this high-level technical support, they are not in a good position to support the industrialization process in the country. So we'll keep supporting that cities. And again, the IDP's dimension. UN-Habitat is really be part of these durable solutions that is really jointly prepared. That is a program. UN-Habitat is covering the spatial dimension of that durable solution to see how to incorporate the IDPs into the city, and again to see the connections between the IDP settlements. So we'll be supporting this process thanks to the SEUS fund. So we are supporting that one. And again, urban environment and basic service. So the basic services, including solid waste management and other activities. This is not just providing technical support, but we have to make sure that these basic services are really planned, integrate in an integrated way and implemented in that way as well. Urban economy and municipal finance, as I said, this is key area for the cities. Most of the cities are mobilizing like very low resources while they have lots of resources on the ground. So we'll be supporting in this area as well, actually together with the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction. This affordability of the housing has been really a challenge in Ethiopia everywhere. This is really, our intervention will not focus on the construction of the cities, but assessing what's going wrong. Because the Ethiopian government, the cities are providing condominium houses, real estate and everything, but the price of the cities, price of the houses, and still the supply is going like in the same direction, which is actually, when it comes to the theory, when you increase the supply, the price has to go down, but the supply is going in Addis Ababa, for example, is this all construction of houses. And yes, I know that the number of people is still, growing, but how can we make housing for houses affordable? So that is really key area we'll support with this, how to in the areas of supporting making housing affordable. And land management, everything is happening on the land, so we will be also providing support on that. The last focus of our country program, but not least, is COVID, and how can we support cities to withstand this shock. It's not only COVID. COVID showed us how cities are really vulnerable to this COVID, this kind of shock. So how can we support cities if the same thing happens? And what will the cities look like after COVID? So we'll be providing technical support on how cities should be developing after COVID. Again, our support on market rearrangement in terms of also planning in line with COVID will also proceed. So these are our focus areas basically in Ethiopian cities. So let me stop here. Thank you very much.
Acknowledging all the supports provided from the World Bank, UN-Habitat and other partners, now I am introducing you some of the flagship project which is emanated from our 10 years perspective plan, which is ongoing in some cases, there are some new projects. As you can understand, the urban economy, the urban space, it's a multi-sectoral nature. It's not a single sector. We need to look into every detailed aspect of the diversified nature of the urban economy. The urban support needs to have many partners to work together and get the support required. Just to give you some highlight, we have already, it is in the introduction, in the opening statement by Her Excellency, and many of the presenters already said, the urban issue is unique in Ethiopia. It is just a fast urbanization and least urbanized. In many cases, there is a potential to grow. Many people are coming, cities are, urban centers are flourishing, and all this really requires to get more jobs, more housing, more infrastructure, more service, more economic activities in the city. So we need to have a proactive management in the cities. That proactive management will require for the city to get more economy, more jobs, works. And the construction industry also as a second largest job creation sector and the biggest economy and a big contribution for the national GDP growth. it also requires more proactive management, because there is a lot of hassles in that area in terms of delivering housing, infrastructure, the cost overrun, time overrun, the construction management sector has to be improved. So all these activities has to be managed in such a way to get the goals, the desires put in the 10 years plan to be successful. That's why we tried to look into the 10 years plan. Whenever we do our 10 years plan, we found that we diagnose there are some areas which is already unaddressed, underfunded, and there are some other areas which already supported by partners like World Bank and others also. Mainly World Bank is supporting this area. These are the areas which we need to get up. The project areas are about 9. In fact, there are some others also to come, but now we have Urban Institutional and Infrastructure Development Program, which is already introduced by the World Bank Group. This is an ongoing project in 117 towns, and also the Urban Productive Safety Net and Job Project. This is also ongoing. But there are also other 4 new projects under formulation. We are now currently engaged in the formulation process. That is Urban Planning and Land Reform Project. And the Municipal Service Improvement Project, the Clean, Green, Resilient Cities Project, and Decent and Affordable Housing for All projects. These are the ongoing projects which we are doing now. We started it and we need to work out together. There is also Integration Information Technology Infrastructure and Smart City Project, which we can do along the road. Maybe this year or next year we are going to formulate it. And also there is other project which is government financed project, the government office building and housing, that is government financed project, and construction industry capacity building and reform project, which is also the 9th project. Among these 9 projects in the 10 years plan, the 4 projects are identified as priority interventions this year. These are, which I said, Urban Planning Land Reform, Municipal Service Improvement Project, and Clean, Green, Resilient Cities Project, Decent and Affordable Housing Project. And in the formulation stage, I'm going to introduce you these projects. The Urban Planning Land Reform Project, the objective is to identify the area where that needs policies, legal frameworks, and also the land supply mechanism has to be improved. The reform is very critical. As you always see, land is a very critical input for any development. We have to manage it in such a way that can really provide housing for all, infrastructure and service. So increasing the diversifying source of service land for new development is very critical, and at the same time, improving the system, the lease structure which we are going to delivering for investment, land delivery for investment has to be improved. In addition, we have to look into the urban planning system. So in it, the project component is land policy and legal reform, and implementation of the outcome of regional special plan, cluster development plan. There is a planning process which we are going to after the regional and cities cluster development plan. This has to be financed, because once we have a planning, there is also investment areas diagonized. That is also one of the areas we need to work out. Urban land use planning, land tier improvement, the urban land inventory and land file management and land administration in general in the governance system has to be improved, and enhancing the role of medium and small towns. This is a missing link in many contexts. There is a missing link. There are big cities, maybe one. There are small cities that has to be function in such a way to capture more surplus population from the agriculture. So this has to be worked out and do more in that light. The other one is the municipal service improvement project. As the population grows, there is new demand for the quality and the quantity of service required in the municipal level. So this has to be improved, because it has a human element, it has a standardization of service element. This is one of the governance issue is coming from this area. So we need really to put into convenient position to look into. We have to define what specific role cities are playing, because we need to define the city's role. That role has to be addressed. If there is a tourist center, a tourist destination city, there is a service required for the tourists to stay more. And the function has to link it with the service required in the city level. So municipal service standardization and delivery improvement. Both the operation standard, the occupational standard of the human resource, and the certification of competency has to be linked. So the human element is very important. So human resource capacity standardization and municipal service modernization, urban development, financing is also very critical. And institutional capacity building is part of the municipal service delivery improvement. The other one is Clean Green Resilient Cities project. Here and there are some activities to maintain and grow the green area, but still this is one of the big gaps. The big gap is there. We need to work out more on clean and green cities development. This is very critical because the order of this is urban centers will require energy efficient and reduce the reliance on non-renewable energy supply systems. That is the most important one. There are also some flagship projects coming out in Addis Ababa. As you said, the river basin development initiated by His Excellency the Prime Minister. And there are a lot of, because these are the areas where we have, most of our cities are linked with the rivers, but that rivers are carrying sludge and many waste. We have to change it into area where more productive activity can take place and more clean and green. So all the activities has to be linked, the green area, the public space, and waste management and improvement, energy efficient non-motorized transport system, resilient cities development and project planning. In it, we need to find ways to minimize the damage from any kind of disaster risks and better recovery. So city has to be, if there is to prevent from any risk, if the risk comes, its better recovery has to be from COVID, from climate resilience, from man-made resilience, and whatever resilience is in. Cities has to be more resilient, green, and clean. That is one of the area we need. The fourth one is decent and affordable housing for all project. This is a project where we need to look into. You know, housing is in many cases, you know, the need for housing is very high because of the population growth. New family formation, the obsolescence nature of the housing, we need to reduce that obsolescence. And at the same time, the huge gap. There is big backlogs in the housing sector. So we need to cover that all in the housing provision. So one of the issues is urban regeneration, housing supply improvement is a sub-component we need to renew. And the second one is decent and affordable rural housing and settlement development. So there is two components. One is the urban component, the other is the rural service center development component. We need to have a sketch plan, a settlement pattern, because there is a continuum of settlement. There is no cities in island nature. There is no contained city. That has to be continued up to the rural service center development, having a sketch plan and at the same time standardized housing mechanisms in a way to afford for the rural. So improving the housing provision policy, laws and regulation, housing construction input technology and reducing cost and improving the affordability is that actually we need to have a technology required, a standard design required for the cities. So we need to, now we have changed already the strategy for housing. So every aspect of housing provision is welcomed by the new strategy. Provided there is a system, there is a rule of law, but that has to be addressed by any. So this is the most important thing we need to work out in terms of making affordable design and implementation activity in the city sector. These are the four areas which we are now doing but this year. We started already. This is a methodology we are following. We are in the inception data collection phase and data analysis. These are the phases which we are going to do in the coming this year. And we still have to, we have the schedule. We are in October and still working. By March, we have to finish the feasibility study for this project and provide for the government through Ministry of Finance and for donors for you to work with. But we need you before we finish the project, because your assistance must not really to implement, we need you to support us in such a way. Just to the main takeaway from this, my presentation is, so far mainly because of lack of coordination and institution, resource mobilization for urban agenda is low, both in magnitude and in diversity. It is underfunded. Thanks for World Bank, we have this much, but that is not enough for the urban setting. Therefore, MUDCO calls upon all the urban agenda partners to own and jointly advocate, implement, monitor the 10 years sector development plan. This plan is not the ministry, this plan is for the regions, for the cities, for the partners. So this is before you, before us. We need to take it and make it, all partners has to work out with these 10 years. That is our flagship, and we need to work out with this 10 years development plan. We also call partners to join us both in the design and the implementation process of this flagship project, not on the implementation. So there are a lot to come. I want to add some of, one of the areas, serious area in the urban agenda is lack of data. We are working, this year we are working in finding the baseline, establishing the baseline for the urban and construction system, at the same time to have a management information system for our database. So I think this area will help us, all partners will work together in this area, how to really fill the gap in the data requirement in the cities. And of course, we are also revising our policy. We can talk maybe later on. We are not also coming up together in after a year, because we have to link it, we have to be connected, we have to work together. That is what we need to do with you, because everybody has a value to go. Our agenda is your agenda. Let's work together. It's not once in a month, once in a year gathering. So let's work together. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Those are our presentations for today, and I hope that these presentations will kickstart a very interesting discussion that improves the coordination and ambitions of our programs. For this discussion, I'm kindly inviting the chair, Her Excellency the Minister, the co-chair from the World Bank, to have a short discussion on these presentations and the way forward in improving our collaboration and coordination.
Thank you very much. I just want to thank all the presenters who presented about the urban agendas, that different projects going on in the country. So our ministry also presented what we want to do for the next 10 years, and those 4 projects are the flagship projects that are already designed by our ministry. And from the bank side, the bank is really aggressively investing on urban agendas in this country for a long period of time. And UN-Habitat is one of our big partner also in this country, as that of the other countries. And thank you very much for organizing this platform for us. It's a very timely conference. So from our side, we are declaring our 10 years plan and also flagship projects that want us to focus on. So from our perspective, it's good if we hear from different partners here. What do you feel about what was presented today, this morning? And we just want to take some questions and ideas from the partners who are invited here. And the floor is yours, so I just want to give you the time.
Thank you very much. I've been listening, and I think I've learned a whole lot. And I'm so glad to say that I feel very close to this platform, because we've been involved from the outset, and we're still here. I liked many of the presentations. All of the presentations gave me something. And I think of something that Mr. Aklilu said that I have captured, which is the silo thinking, how important it is to see outside silos. I come from my world, been working with development cooperation and international law, and still some areas are very silo-oriented, and they're almost impossible to break through. In this case here, I'm aware of that one of the key agenda goals is agenda goal number 11. But first of all, I see so many connectivity issues that we've touched upon already here, which is agenda goal number 6, clean water and sanitation. Only the fact that this is sort of highlighted in a discussion sort of signifies that there is still silo thinking. And the last speaker, who gave a very interesting presentation regarding the flagship programs, which I liked very much, talked about the missing links. In my way of seeing, I see a lot of missing links. And I think that we need to focus more on the missing links because they're there, and whenever you have a meeting like the one we have today, you will talk about silo thinking and it will continue. An idea I have is that since everything concerns the individual, I somehow think that we would, in my way of thinking, this is so much human rights-based approach in a structure like this. And I would like to see a stronger focus on the human rights-based approach, and at the same time moving the agenda forward brutally in a way, suggesting that we should focus on human rights cities. Why couldn't Addis Ababa in the future have sort of a vision to become a human rights city? That's one thing. The other thing that I just briefly would like to mention is I come from a country where cooperation is essential. We promote that. We work with the DAG group. We've been co-chairing the DAG group. We're not anymore. I wonder where the EU is today. I would like to see more of the EU. And maybe most of all, I'm new in Addis Ababa, but I notice when I walk around in the city, which has a beautiful approach, is that I notice that there's Chinese construction all over. All the city is Chinese construction. Shouldn't we involve the Chinese in a dialogue like this? I think it's essential. I've been living in China for a number of years, and I think dialogue over silos and countries and barriers is essential. And let us open up the door. They're not so far from us in Addis Ababa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presenter. It was a nice presentation. It's a very important agenda, especially for Ethiopia, developing the issue of urbanization. And as a Ministry of Transport, we are also the agenda of when we are upgrading the urbanization, we have a question of transportation. We already launched the NMT strategy, the non-motorized transport strategy. We will build this non-motorized transport as a country level so that we need to collaborate with the Ministry of Urban and Construction. I have some questions about coordination and collaboration. As the presenter mentioned previously, there is a problem of coordination and collaboration. There is a low participation of stakeholders. So how do you manage this participation in order to increase the participation of stakeholders? How do you manage it, and Do you have any different intervention to handle the collaboration or the coordination of different stakeholders who are engaged in urban development? This is the first question. How about the issue of accountability? If they are not willing to take their roles, how do you make them accountable for this institution? The other question is, I think Ministry of Urban and Construction has a mandate of designing the city's roads and everything in when we are developing urbanization. So do we have cities design as a country level? This is the second question. In order to develop urbanization, other countries use use cities, capital cities interchangeably with other cities in order to develop and extend the urbanization issue. So do you have any intervention to do this, such kind of activities like other countries? So how about the regional government? There is, I think, in this meeting, I didn't see any regional people. They are important when you are thinking about at national level. We need to have discuss and reach a consensus with the regional people. So in this meeting, I cannot see any regional people. So that how do you collaborate or coordinate with regional people? Thank you so much.
As Aklilu tried to mention earlier, as a Switzerland, we are also engaged with UN-Habitat on supporting durable solutions initiative, especially in Somali region for the internally displaced peoples. So I was wondering what would be actually the main engagement from the Ministry of Urban Development and Construction, but also from the World Bank, in terms of linking the displacement, in general, the displacement agenda, but also specifically the durable solution initiative engagement for the urban refugees and for the urban internally displaced persons, and also including the displacement affected communities, because I mean, as you all know, the magnitudes of internally displaced peoples for both climate and conflict-induced IDPs is increasing, and a sustainable and integrated, well strategically designed intervention is actually very critical and relevant when we talk about future development. So I really want to hear your views. This is my first question, and my second question is actually in terms of sectoral engagement and also working with other line ministries. What's actually the role of Ministry of Urban Development and Construction, working with a ministry like Ministry of Peace or an institution like National Disaster Risk Management Commission? Thank you so much.
First, some lessons learned from our projects. We have encountered not only difficulties in implementation of urban development projects or any transport or project, but we have also encountered difficulties to ensure that at the end, even if the project is finalized, the operationalization of the investment is secured, or that the funds are used and the facility is used. So we see that there is an issue about the coordination of the multiple actors that are involved in urban development projects and infrastructure projects at the level of the municipalities in particular. And this lack of coordination has a huge effect on the performance of the investments or on the capacity to implement the planning, the urban planning. And in this regard, we have been cooperating in Addis Ababa Master Plan and Urban Planning Addis Ababa with the satellite cities. And what we see is that at the end of the day, this master plan is not really the driving force of the dialogue between the municipality, the ministries, and all authorities, private sector, the population, to define the projects that will be implemented in the years to come. And it means that there is a waste, a big waste in this activity of planning if at the end there is no coordination about how to implement this planning and how to make sure that all actors work together and facilitate the works and decision making that is supposed to be done. So I would ask this platform, how do you envisage the support to this coordination at local level, so that whatever planning is done, there is it is enforced, and there is coordination to enforce it, so that there is no waste of time and energy, and that the urban development is not driven by private investors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I would like to appreciate those presenters who has actually given us good kind of information on what is going on in this country. And really, there is huge resource that's injected in the urbanization, and which is actually very encouraging and very helpful for the development of the urban sector in the country. And I would like to cling on the last speaker, what she said, the coordination issue. There are two wings now. There is a donor coordination that needs to happen, and there is a coordination at the implementer level. Because if we don't focus quite a lot on those two things separately, and we'll still do the same thing again and again and in a silo. And this is what we have observed as Habitat for Humanity. There are quite a lot of actors, but we are actually working individually where we don't bring it. So I really would like to know who is doing the coordination. This platform is a very good platform that has actually given us a chance to know exactly what's going on, but who is doing the donor coordination, because donors, including like World Bank, SIDA, and other donors, how they can bring their resources for urban development. And the implementers, including the government and other organization, who is doing what in which area. And at the same time, I really want to echo on what has been said earlier. How do we bring the regional areas? Because this is not a Addis Ababa issue, urbanization. It is the issue of a lot of cities in the whole country. And I would like to hear your opinion on this area. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Caroline from UNHCR. I have 3 points to raise. The first one is on forced displacement. I did not hear much spoken in this room this afternoon and this morning, and yet we all know that this is a looming problem across the globe, but even within Ethiopia. The government of Ethiopia has pronounced itself on this issue and has actually made commitments to the Global Compact on Refugees, as well as the IDP situation. So I would like to know what's happening, especially considering that within Addis Ababa alone, we have over 30,000 refugees that are currently situated in this city. Secondly, the linkage to SDG 8 that is focused on private sector development and investments. because we all know that these are very strategic partners and would be very useful, especially to the pipeline projects. How can we bring them on board and how can they actively participate? I would like to add my voice on the issue raised on coordination, especially across the partnership teams and also government to government, because that is also critical for realizing visible outcomes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to raise a question or express a concern, which I did last year exactly, which is regarding the importance and prioritization of the issue of cadastre or land management. If you remember, Your Excellency, last year I have expressed my deepest concern that most of the cities or all of the cities in Ethiopia have no any land information system at all. So they are running their cities blindly, I would say, including Addis. I don't know any city with a full-fledged cadastral system. As you all know, a cadastral system is very important in many ways. It is important for urban planning. It is important for financial income generation. It is important for good governance and whatnot. So I think the final presenter has touched upon it, but I insist still that it needs to stand alone as one flagship project. Because without that, I think there is no urban management, urban development, urban planning. This has, I think, my practice and education has taught me that, so I still insist on the fact that this needs utmost priority. The second issue I would like to raise is that on the housing issue, yes, I think it is a very good strategy to open up all options so that I think people can have, or it may help in the access, facilitating the accessibility of housing. But still, one important thing that is missing in this country, or a missing link, is that without a research and development, it is not possible to have affordable housing in the country. So we need to institutionalize research and development in all cities, at least, so that housing can be affordable to all citizens. Thank you.
My first question for the World Bank is a clarity question, actually, about the 43 million people maybe going into poverty due to COVID. I'm not sure if this is going to happen, but it's good to, if you clarify whether this would be a real figure, because it significantly reduces the people going into poverty. The current figure is not this much. So what is your evidence to say this much number of people would go into poverty only due to COVID? On the flagship project that has been presented by the ministry, I think those 4 flagship projects are very good projects. But my concern is if we think of urban development cannot be happen only by the government effort. It needs the active engagement of citizens, the urban dwellers, as well as the active engagement of the private sector. I don't see any kind of intervention or any project designed to enhance the engagement of citizens. Because when we think of urban development, ultimately it is the citizens who would verify that whether the city or the town is habitable or not. It is the citizens who will confirm. So how can we increase the engagement of citizens, be it in urban planning or execution of development interventions, because their active engagement is very critical. The other is the private sector is very key player. I don't see any measure, maybe it could be an incentive mechanism for private sector engagement in the introduction of technologies, in the energy efficiency or in waste management. Without the active engagement of the private sector, urban development is really impossible to think about it. So the private sector engagement is very critical. I'm not sure whether we do have a private sector representative in this forum, but in the future, I think we should bring them on board because private sector is a key player, be it in urban or other development in the country. The last one is linkage, the urban-rural linkage, be it in the supply of whatever foods or any sort of raw materials. That linkage, especially in the Ethiopian context, where the majority of the people are living in rural areas, the rural-urban linkage and interconnection, be it in the supply of materials or food or any other supplies that the urban development is requiring, that's not also clearly outlined, be it in the labor supply as well. So maybe if there is any plan on that aspect, it would be very good if it can be mentioned. The last one is enabling environment. And as I mentioned, in the policy environment, again, I believe it would be good if it can be explicitly mentioned in the flagship project. The policy environment is very important for the innovations, for the private sector engagement, and also for all those that I have mentioned. Creating an enabling environment for citizens, for private sector to participate in urban development is very critical. So these are my just clarification questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Your Excellency. I'm happy today to find my instructor with me from Addis Ababa University. I studied my master's in urban development, so I can say that of all things, I found that urban development is a science, and it's the center of any country's development. It's a very wide and sensitive issue we need to address. It's dealing with people's lives. As you know, in the past, for many years, responsibilities or leadership for urban development or for cities was given just politically. And I hope the situation has changed now, but it's related with people's lives, development, health, everything. When you put some people at some place and there is a flood where the city needs some drainage works and that is undone, and flood comes and people are dying, that's killing people because of neglected responsibilities, because of not knowing how to handle urban lives and developments. When people are displaced in the outskirts of the cities and their lives are ruined,
that is severing people's security and livelihood. So in many ways, urban development affects a whole country's situation and development. It's also an income. We really encourage, I personally encourage what the government is now doing in terms of development on Shaggar, which is very interesting, and I believe it will benefit a lot. I can give you, for example, the United Kingdom gets more than $100 billion in its GDP out of tourism, and millions have got job out of that. And if not the same, I believe we have a big potential to get a lot of income, to create lots of jobs out of it. So it's just to reiterate and encourage the Ethiopian government to work together, at least with the Addis Ababa University, where I have studied, and I believe there are lots of researches done, and there are lots of knowledgeable people there, and we need to utilize them well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. So again, let me thank again to the ministry, which is going to be do this kind of platform to engage all partners together on this forum. So I am from Ethiopian Civil Service University, and particularly from College of Urban Development and Engineering. Our college is one of the partner for the ministry on producing on capacity building for many urban leaders and professionals across the country. So with this, we have a lot of capacity building we have made, like on environment and climate change, in urban planners, and also infrastructure and transport management, and also in land management and on urban engineering aspects. This is going from small kind of training and workshop up to PhD level. We are giving many kind of training. So having said this, one of the major important information which needs to be acquired on this kind of urban partners, which most of the time on research and development, we have a very important linkage we need to develop, because many universities and also colleges, private and government, are doing in different kind of urban development of planners or architectures. They are doing many researches, but we don't have any kind of coordination and collaboration to get together and then to make real those kind of studies. So this is one of the link we need. Another thing, as I have seen, lots of universities come from United States, students together, they are working in Ethiopia, particularly in many parts of the cities, like on river development and squatter settlement, and they have lots of wonderful work what they have done. But no one is collecting what they are doing as on maybe structure level or a kind of assessment as a project. So this kind of collaboration needs to be focused how we collect those kind of data and information. If you see the last presenting from the ministry, one of the gap is the data. But many studies, we are collecting different data, but we didn't use together. On training and workshop for leaders or different kind of activities, we are maybe focusing in particular area of those leaders. But we are not looking all around of the country's different city level of trainers. So we need to have a kind of informational platform, and particularly like UN-Habitat and World Bank, they need to focus and collaborate on this kind of activity together with the ministry, I think. Because otherwise, doing separately or different activities might have a kind of reputation. So we don't have any kind of good effort we are going to bring out from each activities. So this is one of the major gaps in the research and development activities. So we need to have a kind of clear kind of activities together with the ministry pillars. In the ministry, they have different pillars, as we can see from the previous slides. So those are the gaps without reputation needs to be focused in the research and development. With that, we can try to see the problem, and then we can achieve to the down level to improve. Otherwise, you can see many work we are trying to implement, but still the problem are still we are looking around. The floods are still continuing in urban area, and different kind of problem like in climate and different kind of issues still are continuing because of collaboration and then getting together. So this is the one which I want to say thank you.
It's not clear how this problem is solved. Do you mean urban and rural land is redistributed for the nation? What's spatial inequality in Ethiopia mean? I need explanation in this one. The second question is, as World Bank presenter says, there is function of land market and the weak planning in Ethiopia, but not raised land banking concept, cadastral concept, as Grimasamu informed, and how we can involve young professionals in cadastral development and land registration. Without involving citizens, we will never achieve development in Ethiopia. Land market is important, but facilitating registration, land registration is important one.
As you know, a lot of universities are graduating so many educated professionals. So those graduates are concentrated around urban centers. Most of them are idle. So they are very critical in considering them as a key urban agenda. I think I haven't seen in the flagship projects of the ministry that this should be taken as an important issue in the flagship projects. So thank you very much. Whatever input is coming on, we will include all the inputs, relevant inputs from you. And it's good really to have you here and get the input. Maybe some of the issues which I need to touch is the issue of coordination. Most of you have raised the issue of coordination. In the 10 years plan, where the National Plan Commission, there is a shift, a big shift. That shift is inter-institutional, inter-ministerial coordination, integration. We have done an integration plan with all ministries, taking what we can really give for the Ministry of Transport, for example, and the Ministry of Transport can support the cities. It's not for the ministry, it is for the cities, for the centers. Because previously, the issue of coordinating the infrastructure, not only infrastructure, all the support is not coordinated. So the ministry do not know what's going on in respective cities. Now, we know that we have all sectors plan, 10 years plan, and annual plan. What is going on in terms of sewerage from Ministry of Water Resources and Sewerage, our ministry, Environment Ministry, and we know what's going on in the Ministry of Transport. And they know what the ministry is doing in the cities. So this integration is coordinated through the National Pollution, the National Planning Commission, and each and every ministry has a memorandum of understanding. That is what we are planning. We need to have, with those highly engaged in the urban sector, like Ministry of Transport, we need to have a memorandum of understanding at a ministerial level, what we can give and what we can take from the ministry. Because whenever they go down, that has to be coordinated by the municipal administration, by the city administration. That is a design. So interinstitutional coordination is a must in the 10 years development plan. So it is mandatory. It's mandatory to have a coordination because it is a wastage of time, wastage of resource, wastage of many things. So we need to coordinate that. The other issue is along with development partners. This is a platform which we are initiated now. Let's get together. It's not a matter of getting, that's what I'm saying. It's not getting together once in a year or once in 6 months. It is a matter of getting coordinated with, this must be active. The secretariat has to be very active. The ministry is open to work with all partners. We will have, there is also a desk that can work with partners, development partners. Whenever something is coming tangible, we still are open to get to you because we need you and we have to work together. It is not really a kind of wish, but we need to have a strong relationship, work together, support you, know what is going on in the city. So each and every partner has to be coordinated. So this platform has to be strengthened in such a way to coordinate all the activities. Maybe if there is any different arrangement required, we can also discuss and arrange differently. That is one thing. The other issue is the issue of housing. The housing strategy accommodates all possible options to for increasing the delivery of housing, including the private home builders, cooperatives. You know, previously cooperatives get land and they transfer it and lose. That is really a wastage. That was a wastage, but it has to be corrected in such a way to get really the land to be built by the housing, to be covered. And also public-private partnership is there to engage local private investors, even international investors. And a joint venture arrangement is also there. If there is any joint venture arrangement, it is still open. So all options are open, but for these all options, there are also criteria set. The issue of managing it, we need to have a rule of law that is guided, it has to be guided by the law. And this is open for, as already so Girma is saying, the affordability is a critical issue. It has to be researched, it has to be designed, because housing, the technology requirement has to be identified. Which technology is appropriate for the country, both on the urban setting and the rural setting. So we need to streamline this research and development activity for the housing construction, because that's the construction cost that requires research and development. And the technology transfer is very critical. That's why we have a flagship project for affordable housing. The other issue is cadastre issue. Actually, as it is said, cadastre is very, very important, both as Ato Girma said already. But we need to integrate it in, because there is a modern land administration system which integrates. Cadastre by itself is not a result. It is a means to provide service. It's a means to gain more finance. It's a means to get planning done properly. So that has to be coordinated in such a way to have a modern land administration system. That is why we are not undermining cadastre, but we still have to look into in a position to integrate with the system. As you said, it has to come out as a big component of the land administration system. The other issue is the urban-rural linkage. Theoretically, we are not thinking, it was there for how many years, the so-called urban-rural linkage. Urban-rural linkage has to come through the serious planning instrument, through a serious investment instrument, through serious connectivity instrument. Because planning is important, at the same time, it has to be connected. By the way, whenever there is any goods transfer to the cities, there is people transfer to, there is mobility and goods, and of course finance and people who are connected. And there is hard connectivity, and there is also soft connectivity. Culture, idea, knowledge, this is a soft connectivity between. That has to be organized in such a way to make more cities more functional and connected with their hinterland. That is what we call this clustering cities, connecting cities. That's why we put it, the making functional small and medium towns in such a way to contribute more there is a slippery mobility of, whenever we start one guy start moving from the agriculture, from rural area, they end up with a big city. That must not be the case, because there is no job in the small cities, there is no activities going on there, so that has to be distributed. So it needs more practical solution. That practice has to come in such a way by making more investment in small and medium towns. That's why we put it in the flagship project. So these activities should be harmonized, and it is there, but it's a matter of a question of magnifying it. I hope all the inputs will be taken, and we can do more on that line. Thank you very much.
A couple of points that have been raised relating to the World Bank presentation, as well as other concerns. Firstly, about the coordination. Ato Abuye explained a lot about the need and the way forward. I was always wondering why urban is titled as urban compared to other ministries like transport, energy, water, which is limited to the sectoral issues. It's because urban is covering inherently covering the different topics, different sectors, and which are interacting and interdependent. Within the geographic area, if we do not look at the other sectors, if we build the sewerage network or water supply line without considering the road network, it doesn't work. So the whole city function system is a kind of human metabolism. It relies on the other functions to become more functional. And I think this is why it is specifically termed as spatial rather than sectoral when it comes to urban development. And World Bank recent study tells that African cities are actually very expensive compared to other continents like Asia. Living in Asian cities, although the income level or the GDP level is higher in Asia, living in Africa is much more expensive. And if we trace down the reason why, it's primarily based on the issue of coordination and fragmentation of institutions. This is, I think everybody shares the same view that there is a huge issue about coordination. The urban system requires everybody working together, but in reality there is a huge mismatch, this link, disconnect among functions. So this is the most important area. I think we need to find a solution in the coming years. And I think establishing this urban platform is a good initiative, at least with an effort to tackle this coordination or fragmentation problems among agencies and different sectors. And among donors, in response to the question about donor coordination, I think among development partners, we have a monthly coordination meeting mechanism, although it does not specifically talk about urban only, but also all the other sectoral interventions by each agency. So there is a coordination mechanism, and complementing this urban platform, I think we will be able to enhance the coordination among donors about urban development. About the question on IDP, internally displaced people and the refugees, I think ministry as well as other agencies in the federal government are looking into this important emerging issue, which is affecting the economic and social profile of the citizens and so on. And likewise, within the World Bank, we have a team in the social social protection team. We have an expert looking into this issue specifically, and together with our urban team, Dinkne, we have him here. We have worked together to launch the study to basically map the baseline data about the IDPs, how is their living condition, and what is the opportunity gaps, and what is the coordination between the city government where the IDPs are residing, and with the government from where the people left, either by climate shock or conflict or for whatever reason. So once we have this solid baseline data, the next step will be to look into the solutions, how the cities can better integrate those people into the city system. So that is the next step. And then probably we can also work on the operation, the financing operation, to help them integrate it into the system in the future. And land management, I think we explained already, and we also, UIDP that we explained earlier has a component to support the urban planning and land management system at each level, at each city in 9 regions. So, and I believe the ministry has a priority about the land reform in the coming years according to the 10-year perspective plan agenda. And the ministry is guiding the cities to move ahead and enforce the criteria for the land reform about the cadastre, about the real property file management system, and about the registration of the properties and so on. And the next move will be to link those data into the revenue system of the city to increase the own source revenue of the municipal finance. And about the small clarification about this impact, the people by the COVID, this is according to our chief economist office. 43 million is estimated to fall back to the extreme poverty, which means like $1.9 a day income level. Because even before COVID, there are like large bulge of groups who are at the fringe, just above the poverty line. And if we assume that the economy is contracting by 6.5% in the continent, that would impact on the jobs, all the other economic activities, and eventually those people at the fringe would fall back to below the poverty line. And our chief economist office is estimating that it will be about 43 million people in the continent, sub-Saharan Africa, not Ethiopia.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And I really would like to thank all participants. And I should say this is really one step ahead. And the communication itself and the ideas, sharing ideas, and knowing who is doing what is one of the objective of this workshop and this platform. So I'm really very much happy for this engagement of all the partners. Thank you so much. So the issues of integration as opposed to the operation in silos is really coming up now. So, I mean, this is really key for urban sector. Urban, as I've been, and everybody says, is a cross-cutting, and all the sectors, everything, including agriculture, is here. We call it urban agriculture, actually. So everything is here. So there is huge need of collaboration. I'm really happy and glad, and this tells us to really work more on this. And as Abuye mentioned, the secretariat of this forum also should be strengthened and move forward. So I really promise to work forward as UN-Habitat to strengthen and have this platform be really a strong platform to become strong platform. So in terms of having some stakeholders, as like for example the government of China and other stakeholders, actually, I hope Her Excellency will also consider this, because we have to have all the stakeholders who are really investing in the cities on board. I hope we need to work on that. With regards to the presentation of the private organizations or the communities, actually, we have Chamber of Commerce in this as a member of this platform. I don't know whether they are present or not. So they are representing the private companies and organizations. I hope, just for your information, we didn't miss. Actually, this is just a national platform. And the issues of now localizing this platform to regions and city level will follow. I hope that is very much noted, and as long as we see the benefit, we will be moving forward. The issues of this engagement of the transport and everything, it's really good to hear that NMT strategy is being launched, and I should say UN-Habitat has been supporting the development of this non-motorized transit strategy, starting from the Addis Ababa city administration and to the level of the ministry. So I think that also needs integration. NMT strategy requires that level of detail intervention. In terms of the issues that are mentioned here with regards to the spatial inequalities, I didn't mention about land or everything. I was explaining our strategy, the UN-Habitat Global Strategic Plan. One of the pillars or the issues to be covered, reducing the spatial inequality. Spatial inequality means the unequal distribution of resources or services. Even in Ethiopia, having, for example, like 60% plus people living in slums. So it means that the distribution of services, slum meaning where you have no or low basic services, poor quality of services. So it clearly shows us that the services are not equally distributed within the city. I'm referring about the services. For example, we don't have hospitals somewhere, we have hospitals somewhere, we have water somewhere. So I'm referring to that. So that is our global strategy all over the world. That's the strategy of the UN Habitat. We need to reduce spatial inequalities. So that's what I've been referring. I didn't say anything about land distribution or nothing. I was referring about the services, the quality and the amount of services, given the areas, in the areas. In terms of the donors and implementing partners group, actually here we are considering both the donors and the implementing partners together. That's also the beauty of this platform, I should say. The donors could also see what is coming out of the money that they are investing. The government also will check who is doing what. And the implementing partners also can learn from one another. So it's like a mix here. And there is an official and another, all of the, for example, as a UN, we have the UN city, UN country team, where we come together, sit down and plan. We have also donors group, what they call DAG. And there are also other working groups, and there are groups here and there. But this is special in its kind. So we have both implementing partners and donors together where we share experiences. So I think lots of issues has been raised, and it tells us in a nutshell to strengthen this collaboration and move on. I hope in the near future we'll have detailed technical meetings and move on into the having kind of joint programming, joint resource mobilization, and advocating urban jointly. I should stop it here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for all of you. Just to conclude, I just want to say something about most of the issues that were that needs some clarification from the government side. This platform was organized to coordinate the interventions going on in this country regarding urban agendas. So we have started it last year on October, I think, but we didn't manage to come together again because of different problems, but COVID was one of the issues that didn't allow us to gather and discuss these issues now and then. But we were discussing with different partners individually, and we were presenting our plans to them, and we were trying to advocate for urban agendas together. But from our side, we know that it was not easy for us, but we know we have to have a coordination platform to get best out of our programs and our projects that are going on in the cities and in the country. So from the first issue, there are, of course, the different missing links in this country. There are different gaps. So if we don't collaborate or coordinate the efforts going on, we cannot manage to overcome the problems. So knowing this, we started to discuss with different platforms, different partners about urban agendas, and we also have different assessments that show us that recommends a lot of good issues in the assessment results. So from that, we started to draft our 10 years plan from the general framework of the country. So the urban agenda was at the center of this national plan. From that, the center of our plan, all plans, is human rights issue. So the human rights approach is there, and our 10 years plan centers human right and human element. So from our side, mobility is a human right issue. Housing is a human right issue. Job creation is a human right issue for us. So all our efforts, all our plans tells us how we can change the life of the citizens of this country, and how we can manage, how we don't want to leave anybody at the back of this plan, and we want to alleviate the problem of this country, and the center of each and everything is the human right issue. So I can say our plan has already a human right element in it, and it is as the center of the plan. So for the DAG and EU, all partners working on urban agendas, our plan was to map where these efforts are going on. So from now on, we know what we want to do in the next 10 years. And also we have already prioritized our plan for the year, this fiscal year. So we will start to map our resources and the efforts of our partners, and also the efforts of other ministries on urban issues. So resource mapping will be one of the key areas that we will work on together with UN-Habitat and the World Bank. Because as you heard this morning, when the participants were introducing themselves, they were telling us in how many cities they are working and on what issues they are working. So at the ministry, we have a data problem, or we don't have these informations at hand. So we need to map what's going on in each and every city, and then try to coordinate the efforts and get better results out of those programs. So we will do this in a very soon together with UN-Habitat. Otherwise, discussing issues in this kind of gatherings will not help us to solve the uncoordinated efforts going on. Regarding involving the Chinese government, that's true. We will communicate the embassy, and the embassy I'm sure will support us. We have some bilateral discussions with them, but we will invite them in this platform. And yes, of course, the Chinese government and Chinese companies are participating in different construction projects and different development projects in this country. So Chinese government is one of our better partner. So we will try to include them in this platform if we missed them. So as you said, law coordination and collaboration between different stakeholders is there. So as a ministry, we'll take the lead and we'll try to coordinate and see what's going on where, and then map the resources, and then we'll have another action plans and different issues with them. But with different stakeholders here, we can arrange different meetings that we can also still aware our plan, our 10 years plan, and our new flagship projects, and also the interventions we are doing together with the bank and other partners. So we will try to organize another meeting with at least with DAG group, with DAG and other stakeholders, partners in this country. Some of them are individually approaching us, but we will try to organize different discussion platforms to show them what we are trying and where we have gaps. The linking the integration plans with different ministries, Ministry of Peace, Ministry of Transport, all the ministries are sitting together and working on how we can coordinate our efforts and how we can integrate in the planning stage and then implementation stage. So this is coordinated already by Plan Commission, so we are working on that, and urban agenda is one of the key agenda that partners and ministries should coordinate. So we know that, and the government understood this and already started making the integration efforts between ministries and between other stakeholders. Regions, with regions we have another platform. So this is not a platform for regions. After we map the resource we have in the cities, we will try to ask regions to join us and show them what is going on where and in which city, and what was expected from their side and for what is also expected from our side. These issues will be discussed after we map the resources we have in this country regarding urban agendas. The IDP issues from our ministry, we have understood this issue, and I think we started already linking IDP issues and refugee issues with our national programs. Like Urban Safety Net program is also already interlinked with, it has a component with urban refugees, and also IDP issues are also entertained in these programs. So we will try to also discuss with the other programs in our ministry to link these issues with IDPs and refugee issues. So from the Urban Safety Net program, already the refugees in 2 regions, in Gambela and Somali region, will be incorporated in the Urban Safety Net program, and this will be started in the new year, 2021. So the component is already budgeted and earmarked and will be started to be implemented. Role of Ministry of Peace in IDP issues, in refugee issues, we are discussing with them, we are planning with them. So we have close integration with them. So the ministry is also working with us in IDP issues, and the host community is suffering a lot because of these IDPs. Not only the community, but the regional, the city, local governments are also suffering because of the additional population they are hosting. So this is a very crucial issue for us, and we are working on that, and we need the support of UNHCR and the other partners regarding how we could plan and how we could incorporate them on the issues we are working on. The cadastre issue was already answered. I think we have already finished the system development, and we have started it with different in some cities, but we are scaling up that program, and it needs some huge investment to have some infrastructure for the cities, and some we have got some budget from Korean Exim Bank, and we are still looking for more resource to get better infrastructure in the cities that we want to start cadastre system that is developed by our ministry. So this is already started, and it's at the highest priority of our ministry. Housing issue is also one of the issues we have to work on, and for us, housing is a very critical problem in this country, and we have to solve that, and we have also studied what the problems were when we were trying to work on housing development, and we know the problems and the challenges. Now we are trying to solve those challenges, and definitely research and development is one of the key areas we have to work on to solve the problems now and then. But for us, it is a key area that we are trying to work on. That's why we designed a flagship project for it, because it needs huge resource. The gap is huge, and we have to answer the question of our citizens. So it is one of the priority area, and together with our academia, we will try to incorporate the research and development issue. But for the academia issue, we have a big portion for them in our 10 years plan. We can present it to our universities. There are different universities working with us. One of the universities is Civil Service University, and the other one is Addis Ababa University, for the construction sector and urbanization issue also. So for them, we will also present our plan, and we will try to solve the coordination problems we have if we face that kind of issues. But for us, we have some cluster approach for them. So I think we can discuss further on what we are doing and what we are lacking and what you can support us. So we know that academia should support us on human development, research and development, and the baseline assessment that the data we are lacking. In this sector, in different sectors in this country, we are lacking the basic data and baselines. So for us, we are working aggressively on those kind of issues, and we will ask the academia to support us and work with us on different areas that they specialize. So I think we can present what we are doing, and then take feedback from you, and then start involving these institutions for the betterment of our plan. About the citizen engagement and private sector's engagement, our plan clearly shows what they can do with us, and we definitely active engagement of citizens and private sectors is crucial to get to implement our plan. We know this, and we are starting to open up the urban development issues to private sectors. For example, housing development is already opened up by our investment proclamation. So our ministry has also drafted some regulatory mechanisms for these kind of developments, and also infrastructure development also needs private sector's involvement, participation. So we are working on that, and it was not yet communicated well to the private sector, but we can also show them where they can do what. For example, real estate companies are also already communicating us, and other private sector companies I'm sure will work with us on these issues. And there are different areas that the private sectors are already involved. So the infrastructure issue is under the mandate of different ministries. For example, road infrastructure is under Ministry of Transport. Other infrastructure issues are under other ministries. So the coordination role we should play must be there, should be enhanced. Otherwise, the overlap and the synergy will not be there. So from our side, we are feeling that we are not doing that, playing our role very well. So for our plan to be implemented and our cities to be centers for prosperity, we need to play our role very much, and our cities must also not suffer because of our miscoordinated implementation. So because of that, we are trying to discuss with different ministries what we can do together. And there is also an agency that is coordinating infrastructure developments under our ministry. So the ministries must be accountable, as she said. We should also be accountable for our plan. So if we plan together and implement together according to the plans we have, I think we can manage the coordination issues. And it is very difficult issue for us that is quite new for us. We were all working as in silos. So we need to bring everything on board and everybody on board, and also try to give everybody a role in the plans we have. So after that, I think we can manage the coordination issues. But from my side, we'll discuss further about our plan and our flagship projects with our partners group, together with the bank and UN-Habitat. And also we'll have a discussion with academia and also with private sectors about the job creation issue, about human development issue, research and development issue, and other issues. There are different initiatives and system developments going on in our ministry. So communicating our efforts and our plans now and then with our stakeholders will be very crucial for us. And one of the issues we have to work on is campaign about urban agendas is also very crucial for us. It was not yet understood very well by our stakeholders, so we have a lot to do for the next 10 years. That's what we can say. And from my side, thank you very much for your participation, and I just want to thank the Swedish Embassy for supporting us in organizing this kind of platforms every time, and organizer of this platform, UN-Habitat, and the co-chair of this platform, the World Bank, which is aggressively investing on our urban agendas. So our doors are open for you. You can come and ask us about our plans and what we are doing, where, and then we can clarify issues if you want to approach us even individually, even as an organization. So we can discuss a lot about the urban issues. As you all said, the issue is all our issue, and it's issue of all citizens. So this is what we can say for today, and thank you very much for our time, and thank you.